Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
Welcome to pre-summer. Yes. Cannot wait. Finally get through that cold weather. I hate it. This is Patrick Riggins with the Patrick Riggins Show on the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network. We are the cornerstone of that network, the benchmark, the capstone for that network, and you are tuned into it. This segment, I will try to get back to that stuff in the previous segment if I have time, because I want to get to this stuff about CPAC. I mentioned during the last segment that CPAC was this last week, and I have a few quotes to play you from it. Of course, one note is that Rand Paul won the straw poll that was held at the event with 25% of the vote. But anyway, here's a clip from his speech there.
President Obama, who seemed once upon a time to respect civil liberties, has become the president who signed a law allowing for indefinite detention of an American citizen. Indeed, a law that allows an American citizen to be sent to Guantanamo Bay without a trial.
Now, what Senator Paul is referring to is the National Defense Authorization Act that President Obama signed. And we talked about that, a few weeks ago, I guess maybe a month ago. You can check it on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Patrick Riggins Show, and you can go back and listen to what we talked about there. But Mr. Paul can make this statement because he didn't vote for this unconstitutional piece of legislative BS. But others speaking at CPAC, in fact, did. And how did President Obama get this piece of legislation? Did he decree that it was the law of the land, have someone type up that decree, and then have a signing ceremony? No. Congress voted and passed it. That's how the president had the chance to sign it. Congress has to have enough votes to get it through and send it to the president for his signature. But we don't want to talk about that. You see, because Mitch McConnell, he voted for it. Marco Rubio, he voted for it. By the way, he's an Hispanic Republican, you know, in case you were wondering. Ron Johnson voted for it. Pat Toomey, Marsha Blackburn, Diane Black, Eric Cantor, and yes, even that golden boy, Paul Ryan, voted for it. All these people spoke at CPAC, and yet they voted for a piece of legislation such as this. Doesn't sound real conservative to me. But then again, I'm not a hypocritical politician seeking to get your vote by whatever means possible. Here's another clip from that speech.
Eisenhower wrote, "How far can you go without destroying from within what you are trying to defend from without? If we destroy our enemy but lose what defines our freedom in the process, have we really won?"
A very, very good point by Mr. Paul, and one I've made on this show virtually since the beginning. In this next clip, though, Mr. Paul is talking about the Bill of Rights.
Then what exactly is it that our brave young men and women are fighting for? To those who would dismiss this debate as frivolous, I say, tell that to the heroic young men and women who sacrificed their limbs and lives. Tell that to the 6,000 parents of kids who died as American soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. Tell them the Bill of Rights is no big deal.
This is what in logic is called a non sequitur, an argument whose conclusion does not follow from its premise. The Iraq and the Afghanistan wars had absolutely nothing to do with our Bill of Rights. Nothing. Not even our Constitution. other than the fact that we ignored its requirement that Congress declare war before we can go to war. We didn't bother with that. But what this last clip demonstrates is that even the progeny of Ron Paul can fall victim to populist themes. I'll tell you what I'd like to tell the families of those people who died in Iraq and Afghanistan and all the other frivolous wars we have engaged ourselves in. I'll tell those families and those veterans who didn't die but lost limbs, or didn't lose limbs but time out of their lives they'll never recover. I'll tell them as a nation, hey, we're sorry. We made a huge mistake, but we won't make it again. I'd like to tell them that, but I know it's a lie, because we'll make that mistake again. Because our government sees fit to tell the rest of the world how to live. And if they don't want to live that way, well, then we'll make you. After all, the government treats its own citizens that way. Why would we expect it to treat the world any different? Senator Paul does get back on track, though, with this next clip.
The filibuster was about drones, but also about much more. Do we have a Bill of Rights? Do we have a Constitution? And will we defend it?
That is the question. Will we defend it? The answer is no. Our representatives in government, as currently constituted, with very few exceptions, will not defend our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. They aren't now. So what makes us think they will in the future? So who will defend those documents? Well, it's the same people who won them. The same people who always do, the citizens of this country. It is up to us to take back our rights and liberties, because if you're waiting for the government to give them back, you're going to be waiting a long, long time.
Our party is encumbered by an inconsistent approach to freedom. The new GOP will need to embrace liberty in both the economic and the personal sphere. If we're going to have a Republican Party that can win, liberty needs to be the backbone of the GOP. We must have a message that is broad. Our vision must be broad, and that vision must be based on freedom. There are millions of Americans, young and old, native and immigrant, black, white, and brown, who simply seek to live free, to practice their religion, free to choose where their kids go to school, free to choose their own health care, free to keep the fruits of their labor, free to live without government constantly being on their back.
What Senator Paul is describing is libertarianism, not conservatism. When he says the new GOP must embrace these values, he's barking up the wrong tree. The Republicans have never really embraced the concept that people can do for themselves, not in recent memory. What we are coming down to in this country is not Democrat or Republican, liberal or conservative, but government-centric or individual-centric government. These two political parties are not really different in their approach to this in this country. They are both driven to provide government solutions to every problem. I've said this on this show over and over. If you listen to these other speakers with an ear towards freedom and liberty, you'll start to hear the inconsistencies. You'll start to understand that the future of this country lies with the American citizens, not the government. Do you really think government is going to cut itself back? Do you think it's going to willingly give up power and money? Give up all the benefits it derives from taking freedom from you? When you think about it in those terms, you realize the magnitude of the fight we have before us. And the important thing is not to lose heart and let the government win, because you aren't fighting just for you. You are fighting for your children and your grandchildren. The good thing about this war is it doesn't involve guns, at least not yet. It only involves getting good people elected to office. It really isn't any more than that. But wait, you say, I've got this new program coming on television I want to watch. Or I just joined this new fantasy baseball league. I don't have time to work on a campaign. The only problem is the government is constantly working to take away your freedoms. Just look at the dramatic erosion of them over the past 50 years. The government is always working, and it is counting on you to not want to take the time to fight it. So it wins battle after battle until the war is all but lost. And you're sitting there, left trying to figure out what happened. All right, we're up on the last break of the Patrick Regan Show. Yeah. Tori playing some good bumper music there. A little Rage. Yes. Rage Against the Machine. All right, when we come back, we'll hit the Defense of Marriage Act. Don't miss this. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.